Howdy, and welcome to episode 126 of In the Rabbit Holes Urban Survival Podcast. In this episode, I convinced Jason to look at the flowers. We're your hosts, Aaron
and Jason.
And you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. All right, quick announcements before we get in today. First of all, we are sorry that we missed last week. We are a little bit behind, so we are going to be doubling up on episodes. And then this week almost didn't happen because, as you can kind of probably hear, I managed to go and get myself a cold. So today's episode may not run that long. I don't think I have a lot left in my voice.
Aaron's got the sniffles.
I got the sniffly sniffles. And anyway, so the other announcement, of course, is that there are five episodes left in season 4 of In the Rabbit Hole. We will be signing off April 27th and returning August 3rd, 2015. Yes, we are in the year 2015.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, so we will not be going away. We will, of course, be going on our summer hiatus. And
fun.
Yes, now, Jason, tell us what it was like looking at the flowers. Now, for those that
sucked me in,
those that are new, we have the ongoing thing where I love zombies and Jason thinks zombies are stupid. But things have changed a little bit.
All right, my viewpoint on zombies in general, still stupid, hands down. But the television show Walking Dead, okay, I get it.
Now you get it. See, I think herein lies the problem. Everyone hears Walking Dead's really popular, and then they tune in way late, and they watch one of the current episodes, and they have no idea what's going on. They don't, and what you don't see, and this is where this actually we will start to take this into why this has anything to do with the survival show.
Right.
What they don't see is the evolution of characters.
Correct.
And what dealing with a post-apocalyptic world has done to these people.
See, before I jumped in season 3.
Yeah.
And I'd watched quite a few of those, and I was like, okay, yeah, I get it. Zombies. Oh, okay. All right, it's a fairly decent show, decent cliffhanger. Okay, but I got better stuff to do. I gotta go build a garden, or go feed the chickens, or whatever. Everything else had a higher priority than this.
Right.
And then comes along little baby Ava.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I need something to pass the time for 3 or 4 hours while I'm waiting for her to wake back up at the middle of the night. So I'm like, all right. Aaron calls me. He's like, hey, man, I want to do something on like societal breakdown. I'm like, okay, so what do I need to be like researching? I need to do a little bit of homework. I'm just sitting around here doing anything anyways, or doing nothing anyways. Because, all right, man, I need you to watch Walking Dead season 1, maybe season 2. And I'm like, dude, seriously, zombies? I was like, all right, man. I don't know anything else better to do. So I jumped on Google Play and download it. And he's like, all right, man, I'm pre-warning you. Episode 1 is pretty hairy. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, dude. I'm sure it's been a while for everyone else, except, goofballs like me that haven't seen the thing. Season 1 opens up, and, Rick's going down the highway and comes across this little car wreck area, I guess, by a gas station. And he's looking around, kind of scavenging around for materials. And I think he's going to get some gas, or try to siphon off some gas or something. And this little girl pops up and starts walking, through.
This is a spoiler for anyone who hasn't already seen the show. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'm assuming everyone's seen that. Come on, man. We're on season 5. The visual effect of, here I am with this small child, my own, of my own. She's asleep at the present moment because I don't watch it when she's awake. Watching a guy pull out a .357 and shoot a small little blonde girl because she's turned into a zombie at 1 o'clock in the morning when you're sleep deprived. Yeah, that's a reality check. Real quick, I'm like, damn, okay.
And that was the piece that I warned you about in the very end. When you watch it, there will be a little girl. And that will be the point that you will be hooked.
Yeah. Dear God. I was kind of in shock, I guess. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, I can kind of see this. And I started going through, and there went season 1. There went season 2. I was like, okay, that's all I need to watch. Well, but damn, season 3 is right there. I'm up. Well, okay, I'll go ahead and download that too. And then season 4. Now I'm on season 5. I'm completely caught up, and I'm like, damn.
And then comes the phone call of, so back away from the internet. You do not need any more bullets. You're fine. There are no zombies outside. I'm sure you're a little twitchy.
Sir, I'm fully blaming you for this. And
I keep waiting for a phone call from your wife.
Yes,
like,
exactly. I blamed it on you. I started having dreams, and I'm a fairly physical person in my dreams, and
you're not exactly a small dude.
Yeah. And anyways, I've ended up either pushing or kicking or elbowing my wife like 3 or 4 times, and right after I got through, this marathon Walking Dead viewing session. Okay, I was starting to have nightmares. I was fighting zombies in my sleep. I've got a whole newfound appreciation for blades. We'll get into that later. She was literally having to jump out of the bed and start talking to me and wake me up to make me realize I wasn't trying to like slaughter people. It was bad, man.
Yeah.
It was really bad.
Yeah. I told you to take it easy.
Yeah.
Didn't you learn from when I did that zombie book bender thing? I think that was actually last season of In the
Okay,
Rabbit
but
Hole
listening to you go through it, and then experiencing yourself,
it's totally different.
Totally different, my brother.
Because you do get sucked into the world, and it does make you a little jumpy.
Little?
I'm downplaying it.
Yeah,
by a lot.
Listeners, I literally picked up the phone and called Aaron. Actually, I think I texted you.
You texted me some,
probably just some disturbing texts.
Lots of profanity.
Like, okay, so we need guns, bullets. Okay, those 300 blackouts, man, are really looking good right now. What else do we need? I think I've bought, before Aaron stopped me, because I was really losing it, at least 3 blades, probably about 500 rounds, suppressor.
I know you got your suppressor before, I think. Or did you buy another one that I don't?
No, I think I finally pulled the trigger and bought it.
Oh, okay.
I finally got all the paperwork in. It was enough. It was motivation to get me to do. I'm a fairly cheap guy as it is, and that's why I'm such a poor prepper. That's a big ticket kind of purchase item.
Those are big ticket. Yeah, suppressors are not. But they're not kind to the wallet.
In season 5, you'll notice that the guys or the team is using a lot of suppressors because loud noises attract more zombies.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed a suppressor.
Why do you think I ended up with? Why do you think I ended up with so many? Yeah, my only, as a caveat to that, my only thing is it's still not that I expected it to be. Usually it's a zombie show, so there's already a lot of suspension of disbelief, but you definitely appreciate suppressors more than I think most people normally would.
And I kid about this, and I still hate zombies. But the real motivation
everyone hates zombies. You're not supposed to love zombies.
Well, my real motivation on this is like the show really hits home like what it'd really be like if society really truly broke down
in a completely unrealistic way. Yes. Okay. No, and I just mean in the zombie that there are zombies.
In the zombies, yes.
But yeah,
I don't even watch it to watch for the zombies. The zombies are just kind of like there. That's the theme of the show,
right?
But the real, nitty gritty nuts and bolts of the season or the show in general is watching society break down and what it would actually be kind of like if something that like that actually occurred
and what it turns people into.
Yes,
because we were talking about before the show, and that's the real difference is that if you tune in and start watching in the middle of say season 3,
right,
or season 4,
right,
or even if you start in now, a lot of people will look and say, okay, this is obviously a very well written, very well crafted show, but I don't get it. And the real ticket of why this applies to survival is seeing the evolution of the characters, of how far they break down, how animalistic they become, how desperate they become. And yeah, in that sense, if society were to break down that far, I mean, we've seen that in the Balkan Wars. We've seen that to some kind of degree with the stuff in Argentina, things like that. You do see, what has humanity really become? What are the different roads? What are the different avenues that humanity takes? In The Walking Dead, it gets pretty far down that road, and you get into cannibalism and some other stuff. And there's rumors of cannibalism in history, and I think it was World War II. Germany, I think, was when or maybe it was World War I, that's rumored to have happened. So rumor again, don't know if it really ever did or didn't. But what lengths will humanity go to survive? And it was interesting. I was having a conversation with a family friend who is a psychological warfare officer way back, and it made me think of zombies and made me think of The Walking Dead, because he was talking about, he's like, there is no animal that will spend as much time and energy thinking of new and creative ways of killing each other as human beings. And I mean, he's like, just insane, just ridiculous things. Like, and that's true. And that speaks to some parts of it. But I think the other piece that's interesting to watch about that is, you pointed this out, the real, and I think even in The Walking Dead itself, they're just now saying it, the real commodity becomes other people.
Yes.
Other people you can get along with. Not, the cannibals aren't necessarily that useful. but that the idea of lone wolf survival, which we've always said does, that is a myth. It doesn't work.
Right. It doesn't.
And I think that's one of the things that the show really brings to a head.
Oh, yeah. You used a great word a couple minutes ago, desperation.
Yeah.
That desperation of humanity to survive, to keep living.
Yeah.
And that word says volumes. It's that desperation of, and if you've ever felt desperate, you understand the inert emotional just power behind that word. It gives you a true idea of, okay, what are we prepping for? And we're prepping for not having to go through desperation,
Exactly. And I think that's a really interesting point that, I've never thought of it that way. And I think, wow, that actually is a very deep statement you just made, that really most of us are prepping to stay away from or to stay out of, should things get bad, desperation. Now that's whether we're prepping in a practical, prepping for the most likely situations like job loss or death in the family or something like that, all the way through to the zombie apocalypse,
right?
Kind of thing,
right?
And as we've said in the past 1,000,001 times, the great thing about zombies is you can interchange zombies with anything, and you still have a perfect metaphor and a perfect storyline for telling a survival story, which is about getting through that desperation. Because the other side of desperation is dead, and we don't want that.
Of course.
And
I mean, that innate instinct to survive, and desperation has a part to do with that, because that desperation is the epitome of just that gut check of, I need to do something in order to stay alive, whatever I need to do.
Yeah.
Like I've done training runs out in the woods where I went, 3 days with no food, and I know that the whole mental aspect and the whole biological aspect of like going from running off of carbohydrates to running over into fat. So going into ketosis, I know that desperation of that addiction of I need something to eat. I need something to eat now. And you're willing to literally kill just about anything and eat it. I've pushed myself to that point so I could experience it. So I knew what that was like.
Yeah.
So having that experience gives me that extra little oomph of, okay, I don't want the people around me, the people that I care about, my team, to have to go through those things. So what do I have to do to make sure that my people survive?
Yeah.
And I don't care if it's Hurricane Ike, who went 4 weeks, no power, whatever. I mean, it was rough, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But I knew what to do in order to charge the cell phones, get power, get gasoline. The food stores, which actually was just a smorgasbord of feasting for 3 weeks because of the freezers were off.
Right.
We had to cook the stuff up and eat it. So it was like literally gorging ourselves for 3 weeks. I think I put on like 10 pounds during that time period. Just going through all those processes. That to me is all trial runs.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah,
I could see
for
that.
prepping for the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way I can describe it. And I mean, getting back to The Walking Dead, I mean, that's a visual stimulus of going down that mental exercise of what it could possibly be like when it's that bad and people are that desperate.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go through all the Mad Max kind of scenarios or whatever, but it doesn't really touch you like in a humanistic way, like how The Walking Dead does.
Yeah.
It really, truly touches you. Like, I even hate admitting this on air, but like there was a couple of episodes I actually cried.
Really?
When Rick got reunited with his daughter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was...
New daddy.
Oh, yeah, daddy.
New daddy.
New daddy. Boom. New daddy of a baby girl.
God. Yeah. I mean, it just tore me up. Absolutely tore me up. Look at the pretty flowers.
Yeah.
We laugh. Tore me up.
Oh, man. Yeah. That
tore me all up.
That was a hard scene.
Not just that scene, that whole episode.
That was so
rough.
Well written and so well crafted.
Yeah. Well, watching those kind of episodes. Yeah. And forget the zombies.
Well,
this is that's good stuff.
Yeah, man. That's exactly it. I mean, you have to have that level of a protagonist to break down society, to have the conversation of look at the flowers.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting. And that scene in particular with the little girl and that's what's interesting about that show. In the zombie genre in general, it raises so many questions. In today's society, what will we do with the little girl that goes crazy like that? That becomes homicidal. We medicate her. We, put her in a nice care facility, and she's taken care of. No, she's not necessarily a functioning member of society, but she goes on living. You're in a situation like that. Well, now you're in a situation where you don't have you can't do anything with that. There's no way to care for that person. And
it's actually a threat.
It is a threat. Even though she's a little girl, she's now killed.
Yeah, she just killed her sister.
Yeah. And so you're brought into a situation where a survival situation where you have to make these just impossible decisions. And I think that speaks volumes, because that's a lot of what goes on in people's minds, thinking through survival of those are the things that a lot of people never want to think about.
Right. But that episode,
but those
that
really hard decisions, like what would you do?
Yeah.
Could you do it?
Well, yeah. Total gut check.
Total
gut check.
I don't know that I could do something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have a hard time hitting rabbits on the back of the head with a steel pipe. I mean, much less, telling some little girl, just look at the flowers.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
It was such a powerful episode.
Yeah.
And God, I even hate the fact that it's about zombies. I just it irks me, because it's such a powerful and riveting story.
Well, I think the thing is, most of these stories can't be easily told without zombies.
I get it.
We don't have, so we do have a protagonist, but it would still, in essence, be zombies. I mean, you could talk about a pandemic is probably the only thing that we are currently aware of that could bring society to that kind of brink. Some sort of plague. And I mean, that's zombies in this. It is a plague. It is a virus that brings humanity down. Now you can get into, I know there was a study recently released, and I don't have those notes in front of me because it was going to be through a different episode. So I can't quote there was a recent study done by a major university of what the most likely kind of world-ending disasters would be.
I remember the link. Yes.
Yeah. Some of them were, the environmental stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them, which was most highly rated, was it Aliens Come Down, which, and you and I had a brief discussion about that. And I guess hopefully before the season ends, we'll get a chance to discuss that research study some. But barring Aliens, I think what we could as a civilization bring us to our knees like that would be some sort of biological pandemic, viral, bacterial something.
Mm-hmm.
We have so many weird things floating around now. It could be, I don't know, zombie measles or zombie Ebola or something. Whatever the media cooks up and freaks us out about next. Which, measles, I think measles has run its course in the media now and is gone. I'm sure we'll be on to whatever our next. Well, we got ISIS now to worry about. And
true.
What are we? I think, and then we'll have the liberals in the next. Well, I should say liberals. By liberals, I mean the Democrats and Republicans. No in an election. Oh God. We'll be ginned up about the debt conversation is happening. Oh, we got to raise the debt ceilings on us again. So.
And then the distraction stuff.
It's all distractions. It's all
ban this
horseshit.
Ammo and this and that. And,
oh God, the ammo.
The riots and all the racism and this. Whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Stop throwing up smoke screens. Come on. Pay the piper. It's time.
Well, it's whatever. It's all a dog and pony show. Meant to distract us from what? I don't really know, but I guess from just how silly it all is. But anyway, back to zombies. So I think the real thing here is I get why you hate zombies. I actually used to really couldn't stand zombies, but I couldn't stand them when zombies were strictly which I don't like horror films.
Right.
I don't like horror for the sake of horror, and the recent zombie genre really became less about the horror and more about the telling of a very compelling, desperate story, which is in a lot of ways why the survival community, I think so much of it has put its arms around the zombie genre, because one, it's fun, but two, it became, like you said earlier, a story of desperation and fighting against the desperation. And that's really what survival is. The zombie genre became a story of survival. Actually, that's the opening credits to one of the book, and I can't remember which.
Oh, wow.
Which book? Which is that? Oh, no. It was the other it was the really popular podcast, and I just saw that it's all that NyQuil I drank right before the show. Story of survival. What is the name of that show? I don't know. Really great. I feel like such a jackass now. I can't remember the name of it.
It's all right, man. We all have those moments.
I have a lot of them.
All right. Taking it back to the show.
Yes.
Kind of like life lessons. And I just recently had a situation where I'm teaching my nephew how to shoot. So I got him his first pellet gun, and he's got a couple of airsoft guns or whatever. We'll go over there to go watch the kids the other night, and we pull up and he comes running over there to the truck, and he's like, "Uncle Jason, do you know how to repair a bird's wing?"
Oh.
And I'm like,
every little boy does that at some point.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, well, not necessarily. I kind of know how, but well, all right, let me go take a look. I go over there. He's coming up with all kinds of crazy stories about, I didn't see it. We were just shooting up in the tree with the airsoft guns and blah, 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 blah. And then it changed to a story of, well, we were using it to scare the birds. We'd shoot up there and all these birds would come flying out. And then it was, well, I didn't see it. He'd end up clipping a dove on the side of the head with an airsoft gun. And it fell to the ground, and he freaked out because he didn't mean to shoot it. He didn't mean to kill it.
Right.
We word that. He was thinking like airsoft, like, okay, well, they can shoot each other's friends. Yeah. It just doesn't hurt them. It just stings a little. Well, I had to pick it up, and I looked at him, and I was like, what was my first rule that I told you when I got you that pellet gun? I was like, you kill it, you eat it. And just a look on his face. And I was like, this is life. if you do something to take another life, you have to show respect, and you're going to eat this. And just looked at me. He goes, okay. Ended up taking this poor dove. God. Had taken inside the house. I made him sit there and watch as I
broke it down.
Broke its neck. Pulled out the rib cage. Set it on a plate, and I was like, "Look at it. You're going to eat this, and you're going to eat all of this." He's like, he starts crying. He starts crying when I broke the neck.
Yeah.
He starts crying. I'm like, "This is life. If you're going to take on the responsibility of playing around like that, you have to understand what the consequences are." This all ties back to the show. It's that cycle of life and going through all that and the pain of watching something die. And then the just the gut check of, I killed this, now I have to eat it. And I mean, we ended up frying it up and I sauteed it up.
Well, of course.
I mean, it was, yeah. God, it was fucking phenomenal. Almost took it from him because I love dove breast. But just watching him go through that psychological cycle of, oh God, I screwed up. Oh God, this poor innocent thing has to die. Oh God, now I'm watching this, my uncle like literally ripped this thing apart. I'm watching all the guts and the heart and all this stuff fall out. And then watching it and then me cooking it and then eating it. And watching him go through that psychological process. I hugged him like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is what being a man's about. This is what life is about. There's consequences to every decision that you make. So, I mean, going through the entire process with him, it made me reflect back on like the show and what it's all about. But the show takes it on like to an adult level of deep psychological,
very dark
desperation. And it gives you a reflection of what real life is and what would happen if society completely broke down. I'm like going through that with my nephew. That was deep and dark for him. I mean, that was, dude, he's 12. That was the deepest, darkest his naive mind had ever had to go through.
Yeah.
Now take it to the next step of the Walking Dead level.
Yeah. Well, actually, I mean and I think that is on that same story you just told. A lot of little boys learn the value and learn that there is no reset button at some point when they shoot some poor bird with a pellet gun.
Yeah.
I did that, and that's, oh, wow, okay. There are consequences.
Correct.
And there are very serious, permanent consequences. And going back to The Walking Dead, there is a scene actually where Carl, I think, shoots and kills another little boy in the woods. Or there was something, or it was a person, I don't remember. It was like season 2 or maybe season 3.
It was season 3 when the governor came back. And he had to shoot. There was a guy coming through the woods and he was fixing to give up his gun and he shot him.
Carl shoots him anyway, yeah. And that's where like there was this concern where for a little while maybe Carl was going to need to look at the flowers.
Yeah.
And then he came back. And there was another interesting thing that came up. And they had talked about, and it was something I never considered until it happened in the show, and then it was discussed in the Talking Dead, their after show, about how children adapt and how that is all Carl and all of the children around that age have known is that desperation. And so for them, it's kind of easy. Not that any of it's easy necessarily, but
becomes normal.
It's normal for him, where the adults are still really wrestling with it all the way along. Carl's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. It's a zombie apocalypse. Here we go.
Right.
All right, got to shoot another one in the head, or, and of course, all the difficulties of becoming a young man while dealing with all of that. With all that. Oh, jeez. God, I can't even imagine. It's going to be interesting to see how that evolves, especially now that Carl's there's a young girl in it. We'll see where that goes. There's like ladies of the zombie apocalypse happening now. That'll be interesting to see where they take that.
Right. This brings up a really good point to all this. In the whole prepper community, we're always talking about food and guns and bullets and so on and so forth. But what about becoming psychologically prepared?
Yeah. And that's
very lacking.
I would say that's definitely lacking. And part of the problem is that is a difficult thing to do. And Neil Strauss in his book Emergency talked about that a little bit, as far as, that you come up against that, stress inoculation.
The goat scene.
Yeah, the goat was one of them. And there are just a lot of things. And then he goes on to do emergency medical training as a way of, and actually goes out into the field. And I can't remember, he actually went further in his emergency medical training than where the book left off. He actually went much further than that. But he talks about that as a way of stress inoculation for actually going out. And I think Ron talked to Ron Davis, who actually hasn't been on the show on our show.
Yeah,
forever.
That's right.
But he talked about that. That was one of his things, is he went out to get medical skills because he had read 1 second after. And he was like, well, in the apocalypse, I have no useful skills as a computer programmer. So he goes out and Ron went on to become a paramedic and everything. But he talked about that too, of the things that just after a while become common, like, oh, this guy's got a bullet hole in the side of his head. Well, let me stick my hand in it. And you're not really thinking about the fact that this other person's blood is all over, that you're just in the middle of trying to deal with the situation.
Right.
And that you do. But it's lacking because in a lot of ways, there's so few ways of actually dealing with the psychological aspects other than intellectually acknowledging them, kind of like what we're doing here now.
Right.
Into talking through them and intellectually acknowledging that they will happen, that they do exist. But as far as actually experiencing them, it's kind of one of those things where, it's just like war. You can't, it's very hard. You can do a lot to inoculate somebody from the stress of war, but until they actually are through it,
right,
and go out into it, which I cannot speak from a personal place of knowledge because never fought in war or anything like that.
Right.
But you can't, there's only so much that somebody could really do to prepare themselves. And I think usually it seems like emergency medicine is kind of the most common one that people go do because it's the one that, doesn't involve violence generally. And it's an awfully useful skill. So, and it's kind of hard to become a part-time cop or law enforcement officer, whereas it's a lot easier to become a part-time EMT or paramedic. So there's that. But, one of the other, but it's definitely, that's a big thing of how do you deal with that? And there's so much of that. There is so much beans, bullets, Band-Aids, conversations, and so few conversations on, which is really what this episode is about today.
Yeah.
The psychological aspects of it, and I think there was even a conversation about, I don't remember if it was in the after show, if it was actually in the episode where they're talking about like basically everyone in the show, the characters, not the actors, but the characters are basically all walking around with permanent PTSD.
Right.
And it's like, how would you not, in dealing with that? And I'm sure if there was some sort of societal collapse tomorrow, whether it was zombies or just dealing with other human beings, which often becomes the main focus of the show. It's the problem is not really the zombies are just kind of there. The real problem becomes like the governor or the termites or whatever, or any of the other violent groups. And it seems like there's actually another one that's about to come up in The Walking Dead that was alluded to a few episodes ago. And I think that becomes another thing that I'm actually surprised by. The quality in the show of the problems they deal with are so well thought out.
Okay.
Going back to the very beginning, the normalcy bias.
Okay.
Rick has in the very first scene.
Yeah.
There's a little girl shuffling around. He hasn't really been exposed. I mean, he's seen this and he's already seen kind of what's going on. But it's so far outside the realm of reasonable things to go on that these little feet are scuffling along. He's like, oh, little girl. And then he's like, hey, little girl, hey, little girl. And then she turns around and it's like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
And then he's forced to make what at that point in his existence is an impossible decision to, how do you shoot this little girl? They shoot a lot of little girls in that. I never realized it until just now. They shoot a lot of little girls on that.
They do.
What is their problem with little girls?
You know what? It's the psychological factor.
I'm just messing. I'm just kidding around.
Because it messes me up too.
Well, it messes up. Yeah. But I think, and going on along the lines of normalcy bias, where he's still wrestling with it, where the other characters, the father and son take him in, and right before they take him in, he's over there waving at a zombie, like, "Hey, man, over here!" It's like, what are you doing? That's a zombie.
Yeah.
Of course, they never used the word zombie in the. But anyway,
or that that guy and the son, in that first episode or first couple episodes, the normalcy bias. He just
where he can't put down his wife, even though it's not his wife anymore.
Even when they run back into him, like the next season or something like that, and he's holed up in that town.
Oh yeah, lost his mind.
Totally gone, shot. He's hoarding. That's the typical prepper nowadays. Completely hoarding. Completely lost his mind. The world's gonna die. Just whoa, dude.
Traps.
Yeah,
some very elaborate traps. That would be me.
Have an entire block.
Entire blocks, like totally over-engineered, very elaborate traps, and have the pinwheel section over here and the pendulum section over here. So anyway, but yeah, I think I'm always surprised at how well they wrestle with the questions of a post-apocalyptic scenario.
Yeah. I mean, they go really deep.
They go very deep. I mean, I think even deeper than really this show is about.
Yeah,
I mean, we're definitely not a, doomsday kind of show. We each have our own.
Come on.
Yeah. I mean, off fair, of course, we all have our, zombie apocalypse type conversations, of what we think will, could potentially maybe happen. In the darker things that keep us up at night throughout the world. But I mean, at the end of the day, the rabbit hole has never been about the end is near.
Yeah,
no. So
when I start pulling out the Ouija boards and telling prophecies and speaking in tongues, okay, then you can start worrying about me.
I will be worried about what sort of drugs your wife has brought home from work and that you've accidentally gotten into.
If that actually happens, it'll probably be lack of sleep.
I could see that.
Yeah, sleep deprivation.
I could see that.
Totally losing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just remembered I should probably, remind your wife to baby proof the pill bottles, any experimental stuff she brings home from work that should be baby proofed. Not from your daughter, but from you. What's this? Ouija board.
It's usually about Wednesday when it kicks in. Yeah.
That is usually when I get weird text messages from you. Yeah.
Desperation. I'm in this house, man.
Human contact.
What's going on?
Human contact. Yeah.
Can I please have an adult conversation?
Surviving babies. Next on In the Rabbit Hole, Surviving Babies, which we keep joking about doing that episode.
Yeah.
But I don't think it'd be time to do that episode until next season when you've had full-on time to really surviving the baby.
Yeah, let me survive and then let me give some like retrospective view from it. Yeah, please. Just give me a moment. I just need a moment. Please.
So now you brought up a newfound appreciation for blades after.
Yes. I mean, come on. Bullets only last for so long. If everything goes down to, the crapper, seriously, how long do you really think 1,000 bullets is going to last? And what, do you think you're going to miraculously like scavenge some reloading materials? Come on. A blade's nice to save bullets, man.
A blade is very nice. All zombie fiction tends to make a really good point out of the use of a knife.
Yeah, and since I'm completely caught up on The Walking Dead, I started watching the Vikings.
I've not gotten into the Vikings yet.
Yeah, that's Blade Fest.
That would make sense. That would make sense. I think, though, on the other hand, I mean that goes back to what you were saying about bullets. I mean that's one of the wonderful things that is 22. If 22 ever comes back in stock, I should say reasonably priced 22, because as we were talking about beforehand, you can.
There's some out there, but it's the off stuff and the really expensive like
Target the really expensive stuff. Like the Eli Target stuff. So which I just got a little subsonic Eli myself because I was actually about to run out of subsonic Eli's or subsonic 22 ammo.
You say that like it's almost like pornographic. 22 Eli.
It was kind of pornographic when I opened the box and was like 500 round brick of Subsonic Eli 22.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Take off the bubble. Ooh, take off that bubble wrap. Yeah. Open it. Open the box slowly. Yeah.
Smell that gunpowder, baby.
Oh, yeah. Gunpowder. Okay. So show's getting weird. Anyway. So yeah, I got a brick. But I was waiting. But yeah, you can actually, I mean, everybody's complaining about 22. I get why 22 is still so out of it, but you can get plenty of the Eli.
Yeah.
So it's just you're paying at that point, you're paying between $10 and $15 for a box of 50, as opposed to, say, 8 years ago. We used to go, even not even that long ago, but 8 years ago was the last time I even considered buying a 500 round brick of 22. Since after that, I just started buying it by the case. But even then, I think back then, like a 500 round brick of 22 was like $15.
Yeah.
Maybe, All right. So minus that brief interruption where somebody knocked on the door and I was just joking with Jason. I keep meaning to put a sign up on my door that says, "Thank you. We have God and we have candy. Please go away."
See, I think this is a perfect example of societal breakdown.
Door-to-door chocolate sales?
Yes.
I'm confused.
You need God and you need chocolate.
I'm not going to necessarily disagree with that. But, yeah. I don't know.
Sleep deprivation. Enough said. Sleep deprivation.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That explains so many things. Yes. But anyway, I seriously, I am going to have a sign made for the door to my house that says, "We have candy and we have God. Please go away."
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah. Because this is like the third time my door has been knocked on this weekend of someone trying to sell me God or candy.
People don't knock on my door. I don't get it. People don't knock on my door.
I don't know. Maybe that's an inner city thing of people peddling God and chocolate. Chocolate for God.
I guess.
God for chocolate. It's like a weird T-shirt in there somewhere. I don't know, man.
I just love the look on their face when I open the door.
Well, that's because you open the door naked.
Shh! Don't say anything. I'm supposed to say that on the air. Come
on. How are you doing? Zombie. No.
It gets
back to zombies. Back to zombies. Back to zombies. Or this is going to get even more weird than the weird, opening a box of ammo thing we were doing a minute ago.
Yeah.
So anyway, we were talking about knives, and then we were talking about people knocking on the door, and
we were talking about the psychological desperation and the surviving for that and prepping for that, and just the different aspects of that whole mind game that you had to play.
So that's
that and kookeries. Yeah, kookeries.
What I really love about all of it is it does force you, because as I was joking with you on the phone, is first comes the bullets, then comes the bags. When you get too deep in going on some sort of zombie or even any kind of apocalyptic fiction marathon, that seems to be
that's why I got a
trend.
Go bag.
Yes,
damn it.
That seems to be the trend. First, you start trying to buy up boxes and boxes of bullets, and then you start looking for a new bug out bag or something else. And I think the trick is once you get past that, you start really thinking through, and you end up with the realization that the real thing missing is the understanding of managing a community, building a community, and what would you really do?
Yes.
And where would you realistically go if you needed to go that far?
Yes.
And with that, we wrap up episode 126. Thank you for joining us today.